We're counting down the 10 black inventors and inventions that were silenced. Brilliant minds whose creations shaped everyday life, modern science, and even global technology, yet whose credit was stolen, erased, or ignored by history. From household innovations quietly appropriated to world-changing breakthroughs buried by institutional bias, each entry exposes a different form of erasure. Which silenced contribution changed the world most? Let's begin with number 10. Sarah Boone's name appears on U.S. Patent 473,653, granted in 1892 for an invention that quietly changed American households. Her design, a narrow, curved ironing board, offered a solution for pressing the fitted sleeves and waists of women's clothing, a challenge as fashion shifted toward more tailored garments. Boone, a dressmaker in New Haven, Connecticut, created a board that was padded and collapsible, making it far more practical than the flat planks used before. Yet, as her patent entered the public record, white-owned factories in the Jim Crow era began producing ironing boards with strikingly similar features. Boone's name vanished from sales ledgers and advertisements, replaced by generic branding. She lacked the legal and financial means to protect her rights, and the market moved on without her. Today's ironing boards still echo her design, but the woman behind them remains largely uncredited, a story written into millions of homes, yet missing from the labels. In colonial Maryland, Benjamin Banneker was born free in 1731, at a time when black achievement was rarely acknowledged or recorded. At age 22, he built a strikingly accurate clock entirely from wood, using only drawings and a borrowed pocket watch for reference. This wooden clock kept precise time for over 50 years, a feat that drew quiet astonishment from local landowners, but little recognition beyond his community. Banneker's scientific contributions deepened in the 1790s when he published a series of almanacs filled with original astronomical calculations, weather predictions, and essays challenging slavery. These almanacs circulated from 1792 to 1797 and reached the desk of Thomas Jefferson, prompting a rare letter in which Banneker urged the author of the Declaration of Independence to recognize black intellect. Jefferson replied, yet Banneker's work remained absent from the developing canon of American science. In 1791, Banneker joined the team surveying the future capital, Washington, D.C., documenting star positions and boundary lines. His role faded from official histories, a silence that speaks to the roots of erasure woven into the nation's earliest years. Otis Boykin's name rarely appears on the devices that transformed modern medicine and defense. In 1959, he patented a wire precision resistor, a component that could regulate electric currents with remarkable accuracy, even under extreme heat. This tiny device became the heart of life-saving pacemakers and guided missiles, and found its way into IBM computers and consumer electronics. Manufacturers in the United States and abroad rushed to license the technology, eager to capitalize on its reliability and low cost. Yet, as these contracts multiplied, the money flowed through licensing chains and corporate intermediaries. Boykin, like many black inventors of his era, faced steep barriers to capital and legal support. Without the leverage to demand fair royalties, he often had to sell or license his patents on terms that favored established firms. Surviving public records show his inventions were adopted on a massive scale, but there is no evidence of substantial income reaching his estate after his death in 1982. The companies profited. Boykin's family saw little of the wealth his resistor generated. The economic silencing of his legacy is not just a matter of credit, but of lost opportunity, an erasure measured in both recognition and revenue. Louis Latimer's technical drawings shaped the electric age, but his name rarely appears alongside the giants of invention. Born in 1848, Latimer became a skilled draftsman and engineer, working first for Alexander Graham Bell and later for Thomas Edison. In 1881, he patented a process for producing carbon filaments, patent number 247,097, that transformed the light bulb from a fragile novelty into a practical household tool. Before Latimer's breakthrough, electric bulbs burned out quickly and were too expensive for everyday use. His carbon filament process changed that, allowing bulbs to last longer and making electric lighting accessible to millions. Edison's laboratories relied on Latimer's expertise, yet company memos and trade press from the era often omitted his name, focusing instead on Edison as the singular genius. Latimer's technical contributions appear in patent records and internal documents, but public advertisements and press releases erased his role. Even as he drafted the blueprints that illuminated cities around the world, Latimer was kept in the background. His achievements folded into the mythology of the lone white inventor. The story of electric light is incomplete without him, yet for generations, textbooks and museum displays left Latimer out, reinforcing a hero-centric narrative that hid the collaborative and often racialized reality of invention. Elijah McCoy's name became shorthand for authenticity, yet his own story is rarely told in full. Born in 1844 to parents who escaped slavery in Kentucky, McCoy trained as a mechanical engineer in Scotland before returning to North America. He found work as a railroad fireman and oiler, one of the few technical jobs open to black men at the time, where he saw firsthand the constant breakdowns caused by manual lubrication of steam engines. In 1872, McCoy patented his automatic lubricator, U.S. Patent 129,843, a device that delivered oil precisely while engines stayed in motion. This invention slashed downtime and boosted efficiency across railroads and factories, quickly becoming standard equipment. Over his lifetime, McCoy secured 57 patents, his designs quietly powering the backbone of American industry. Yet as his lubricator was copied and imitated, buyers began asking for the real McCoy, seeking the original over unreliable knockoffs. The phrase outlived its source, drifting into popular language while the inventor's identity faded from view. Scholars now debate whether the saying truly began with McCoy or was borrowed from other origins, but what's certain is that his genius became a catchphrase, detached from the man himself. Recognition, in this case, took the form of a compliment stripped of its creator, a linguistic monument that obscured as much as it honored. McCoy's legacy is everywhere and nowhere, embedded in language but missing from the ledgers of wealth and fame his inventions helped create. Granville Woods filed for U.S. Patent number 373,915 in 1887, describing an induction telegraph system that allowed moving trains to communicate with each other and with stations. This technology promised to prevent deadly collisions, a breakthrough for an industry plagued by accidents. Woods, working in Cincinnati, had already secured dozens of patents for electrical devices, but the railway telegraph brought him into direct conflict with Thomas Edison. Edison's lawyers challenged Woods in a series of patent interference proceedings, arguing that Edison's company had priority. Over several years, court transcripts reveal a pattern of relentless legal maneuvering. Woods defended his technical drawings, lab notes, and witness testimony before patent examiners and, when necessary, before federal judges. Each time, the rulings upheld Woods as the true inventor. Despite these victories, national newspapers and trade journals often describe the outcome as a curiosity, sometimes omitting Woods' name entirely or referring to him as the Black Edison. The press focused on Edison's reputation, casting Woods as an exception rather than an equal. Patent law, designed to reward invention, became a weapon, forcing Woods to spend his limited resources on legal defense, while Edison's syndicate used its influence to shape public perception. By the time Woods died in 1910, he had received nearly 60 patents, but his induction telegraph was widely adopted without his name attached. The court records remain, but the story of who truly made railroads safer is still missing from most histories of American innovation. Mark Dean's signature appears on 3 of the 9 original patents that shaped the IBM personal computer in 1981. As a lead engineer, Dean played a central role in developing the ISA bus, an internal highway that let users plug in printers, disk drives, and graphics cards, turning the PC from a closed box into an open platform. Dean also helped bring color graphics to the desktop, a leap that set the stage for modern computing. Yet, as IBM's marketing machine rolled out the PC, public credit flowed to the corporation, not the black engineer whose technical vision made it possible. Internal project reports and patent filings list Dean as a key inventor, but company press releases and advertisements rarely mentioned his name. The architecture he helped create generated billions in revenue and became the backbone of the global PC industry. Still, for decades, his contributions remained largely unknown outside engineering circles. This pattern wasn't an accident. It was part of a broader corporate strategy that claimed collective ownership of innovation, while individual inventors, especially black engineers, stayed in the background. Dean received a standard employee salary and recognition within IBM, but the company retained all commercial rights, reaping the profits and shaping the story told to the world. The silencing wasn't just about omission. It was built into the business model, ensuring that the face of technological progress remained white and faceless, even as black talent powered the revolution from within. In 1986, Dr. Patricia Bath secured a patent for a device that would change the course of eye surgery around the world, the laser phaco probe. This tool used a focused laser to dissolve cataracts with precision, making the procedure safer and more effective than anything that came before. For millions living with blindness, it offered the possibility of restored sight. Yet the path from invention to operating room was anything but straightforward. Hospital board minutes from the late 1980s reveal repeated refusals to grant Dr. Bath the resources and support routinely extended to her white male colleagues. At every stage, her proposals were scrutinized, delayed, or dismissed outright. Professional journals published articles on new cataract treatments, but rarely mentioned her name. Behind closed doors, administrators questioned whether a black woman could truly lead a breakthrough in ophthalmology. Despite holding the distinction of being the first black woman to receive a patent for a medical device, Dr. Bath faced a wall built from both racism and sexism. She persisted, presenting her research at international conferences and seeking allies beyond the institutions that shut her out. The laser phaco probe was eventually adopted, restoring vision to patients across continents. Its impact is measured not just in numbers, millions of surgeries performed, but in the lives transformed. Yet the years lost to institutional resistance cannot be recovered, and the moral cost of delayed innovation falls on those who waited in darkness. Dr. Bath's story is a testament to what is possible when talent refuses to be silenced, and a reminder of how many breakthroughs have been hidden behind closed doors, waiting for the world to listen. Garrett Morgan stood at the mouth of the Cleveland Water Intake Tunnel just after midnight on July 25, 1916. Explosions had trapped workers underground, filling the passage with poisonous fumes. As police and firemen hesitated, Morgan arrived with a device of his own making. The safety hood, a gas mask he had patented 2 years earlier. Alongside his brother Frank, Morgan strapped on the hoods and descended into the toxic darkness. In the hours that followed, they pulled 32 men to safety, risking their lives with each trip below. The rescue made headlines across the city, but the story told by most newspapers didn't match the reality. Early reports in Cleveland's dailies praised the bravery of white officials and firemen, while Morgan's name appeared only in passing, if at all. National wire services spread the narrative, omitting the black inventor who had made the rescue possible. Photographs from the scene often left him unnamed or miscaptioned, focusing on the equipment or the crowd. Meanwhile, black newspapers like the Monitor in Omaha gave Morgan the recognition he had earned, running his name on the front page and calling him a hero. But the reach of the black press was limited, and the mainstream memory of the disaster quickly blurred the facts. Morgan's struggle for recognition didn't end at the tunnel. When he tried to market the safety hood across the South, he faced such intense racism that he hired a white actor to pose as the inventor, relegating himself to the role of assistant. Even the Carnegie Hero Fund refused him a medal, arguing that using his own invention made his actions less courageous. The safety hood was soon adopted by fire departments nationwide, saving countless lives. But Morgan's face and name were kept out of advertisements. Years later, he patented the 3-position traffic signal and sold the rights to General Electric, shaping the modern intersection. Yet his story became a footnote. His heroism and inventions filtered through layers of omission and denial. The tunnel rescue remains one of the most dramatic acts of public service in American history. But for decades, the man at its center was written out of the record, a silence as thick as the smoke he once braved. Gladys West grew up picking tobacco and corn in rural Virginia, where opportunity was measured by the acre. By the 1950s, she was one of only a handful of black women hired at the U.S. Naval Proving Ground in Dahlgren, Virginia. In a sea of uniformed officers and classified projects, West was assigned to a team calculating the exact shape of the Earth, a task that would become the backbone of modern navigation. She programmed massive computers with satellite data from the GeoSat project, running complex equations to model the planet's geoid with unmatched precision. The work demanded patience and mathematical skill, but her presence demanded something more: the quiet endurance to outlast segregation in a military research lab. For decades, West's calculations remained hidden behind layers of security clearance and institutional silence. Her name did not appear in press releases or textbooks, even as her models became the foundation for the global positioning system. Today, GPS guides planes, ships, ambulances, and billions of smartphones, fueling an economy valued at over $1.4 trillion each year. Yet the world moved for decades without knowing the mathematician behind the map. In 2018, the U.S. Air Force finally recognized Gladys West's role, decades after her retirement. She stands as the only black woman mathematician to have shaped the satellite era from inside a classified command. Her story is not one of rescue or sudden discovery, but of steady brilliance, an intellect that quietly reshaped how humanity moves across the globe. In every pocket, on every dashboard, her equations keep us oriented. The silence that once surrounded her work has begun to lift, but the impact of her vision is heard every time a voice says, "You have arrived at your destination." From Sarah Boone's overlooked ironing board at number 10 to Gladys West's hidden GPS genius at number 1, these 10 stories reveal a sobering pattern. Throughout American history, black inventors have shaped everyday life and global technology, yet their credit was systematically erased. The list spans small household tools to innovations that power trillion-dollar economies, showing appropriation, legal battles, and institutional silencing at every level. The most shocking entries, like Dr. Patricia Bath's delayed sight-saving device or Garrett Morgan's gas mask rescue ignored by the press, prove that erasure was not just about patents, but also about denying humanity and recognition. Consistently, Inventions qualified for this list by having clear evidence of impact and documented efforts to obscure or steal their origins. The common thread is resilience. Despite racism and bias, these inventors changed the world. Their silent stories remind us that progress depends on acknowledging all innovators. The real truth about American invention is incomplete without the contributions of black creators. Restoring their place in history is essential for an honest future.